of the next presentation is bringing heritage materials to life for the next generation. And I think that really links well to our previous panel session, because we had our heritage materials up here, and they're trying to bring things to life for the next generation. But this relates, so it's a really fitting way to finish off our conference, is to take a look back behind us and see where we've come from and how we can make that relevant to the future. And I got a bit confused because our next two speakers are from the 1851 Trust, and there's another charity out there also called 1851. And I thought, and I got them confused. And who would have thought there were two charities with 1851 in their title? But I'm going to welcome our next guests, who are Ben Cartledge and Beverley Smith from the 1851 Trust, and they're going to tell us about what they do. Thank you.
Super. Thank you, and thank you for that introduction. So I'm Ben Cartledge, and I have the pleasure of leading the 1851 Trust. And yes, we're not quite the same as the Royal Commission of 1851, but similarly STEM inspired. So we are an innovative education charity, and we're delighted to have been awarded a grant for our summer roadshows, which Bev's going to be telling you about very shortly. We're also aware that it's been a sort of very long and very technical couple of days. So we wanted to do something a little bit more light-hearted. So there's some envelopes coming round. There may not be quite one each, but if you could hold on to them. And then again, Bev's going to take you through a little activity that we hope will keep you awake until Richard's closing remarks. You can open it, yeah, and then Bev will tell you what to do in a minute. Yeah, it'll be like being back in the classroom. But I think just picking up on a point that Ruth made, what we're fundamentally about is inspiring the next generation of young people to recognise the importance of science, technology, engineering and maths as they study it through school. And I think I reflected on a couple of things. Bev spends a lot of her time trying to explain what you do to 12-year-olds and doing it in a way that is accessible, interesting and engaging for them. And secondly, trying to bring some reality to how important the work that many of you do as well. So, Bev, do you want to introduce the activity?
Hello, everybody. My name is Bev Smith, and I'm the Education Manager at the 1851 Trust. Prior to working at the 1851 Trust, my background is wholly in education. I've been at the chalk face for many years now, and what we've given you to start you off is a little triangle, or lots of little triangles, and the challenge is that you have to make a big triangle so that the statements and the answers all match up together. And if you get it right, you get to make a nice picture of an America's Cup yacht. So we thought we'd give you around about 2 minutes to do that while we play a little video that shows you some of the work that we do at the Trust.
I haven't been sailing before, and it was an experience I'd love to try again.
The reaction's been fantastic. Like, all the kids have absolutely loved it. It's great to see them having a great time on the water. Like, sailing's such a great sport, and it's given me so much in my life. Pass that on and share that enthusiasm with the kids.
I'd like to do it again because it just feels like something you could do every week.
These children grow up without the opportunities. We're surrounded by water here, but very few pupils in Tower Hamlets or Newham get that opportunity to meet people involved in the technologies behind the sailing team for Land Rover BAR. It's virtual reality, classroom sessions on sustainability, and they're out on the water. So the diverse nature of today, they're going to be talking about this for a long time.
I got to know a lot of things that I wouldn't get to know if I didn't come on this trip.
We're delighted to welcome our royal patron, the Duchess of Cambridge. She's been a great supporter of the Trust over the last 2.5 years. She really demonstrated to the kids how important these things are to her.
Okay, did everybody manage to make their triangle? Excellent, thank you. I noticed some people took a bit longer than others, but that's okay. So basically, the reason I gave you that is because when we host young people within our organisation, one of our key values is that we try to make everything that we do interactive and hands-on. So even if it's just a simple fact-giving exercise, such as what you've just done, just learning a little bit about how some of the J-class boats were made, we don't tend to stand there and talk at children or young people. We tend to actually get them learning through doing. And we do that through a number of programs. And Ben's going to tell you what our 4 key programs are.
Super, yeah, so thanks, Bev. So we really hope that actually with the hands-on type of programs that we deliver, we're inspiring those young people to think about the types of research and opportunities that all of you have chosen, that they really identify through the breadth of what we do, a passion that they can pursue. Yes, we get them involved in sort of lots of science and technology. We also get them thinking about opportunities to put that sailing into practice, not all necessarily with Ben Ainsley, but certainly how can they practically put what they learn with us and what they learn at school into reality and into their everyday lives. So Bev touched on the 4 key programs that we deliver, and we'll just run through very quickly before again, Bev talks a little bit more about our roadshows. So our online platform, STEM Crew, we've got a dozen teaching resources, all based around the inspiration of the America's Cup and the excitement of professional sailing, but all very linked to the national curriculum for 11 to 16-year-olds. We have 1,500 teachers at 900 schools across the UK, so about 15% of secondary schools in the UK now using an element of our resources within their teaching. We have a Go Sail programme, and as we've touched on, that delivers a very specific workshop on the science of sailing, and then an immediate opportunity for those young people, even in Portsmouth, many of whom who've never been on a boat, never experienced the maritime environment, despite it being so prevalent in the city. We've also got our tech deck. So the tech deck is at the base of the sailing team in Portsmouth, and we have around 3,600 young people come to the tech deck each year, and they take part in half-day sessions led by Bev or one of our other teachers, so that we're really ticking the boxes that need the school, that the school needs to see to get the kids out of school, but then also giving them an opportunity to being in a work environment and also to take a project back to school with them. And finally, our roadshow programme. So what we look to do is package up what we deliver in Portsmouth, take that out on the road in support of those teachers using our STEM Crew resources. So how do we help those teachers using our resources in their classroom bring alive some of the topics that they've been teaching?
Okay, so what we're doing this time, so our roadshows actually start next week, next Thursday, and the first one's down at our base in Portsmouth. And then we're going to 6 other venues all around the country. And we're really in a unique position this year in that we're able to use the archives from the Lloyd's heritage in order to base our teaching around. And really, the reason that it was such a great prospect for us is because of the value of these materials and what they add to our existing programs. In particular, I think when you're working with young people, and really our core age range is from around 11 to 14, it's really important to give them a sense of context and time frame. And I think what these archives do, and it's just an example there on the screen, is that they really give young people a sense of time frame and that sense of how things evolve over time. And I think we were having a conversation earlier during the break, thinking about how young people often think of technology as a new thing or something that's in the future, when actually it's something that's evolved over time. And, you know, we're the 1851 Trust. We get our name from the very first time that the America's Cup was raced from cows on the Isle of Wight. And that was the time of the Great Exhibition, which showcased all the technology of the time. And for us to be able to use these plans and blueprints and so on to show how designs and materials have evolved over time right up until the current day, where the team down in Portsmouth are busy designing this amazing 75-foot foiling monohull. It's quite a powerful teaching tool to be able to show that, how that's evolved. The other thing that makes these plans and the use of this really valuable to us is you get the kind of detail that you can't possibly get from a photograph or video footage. So to be able to zoom in on aspects of these yachts and look at them as true working documents and show children, you know, coffee stains that are on them from when the surveyors were looking at these plans in detail, that's really quite something. And it adds a real level of authenticity to the work that we do, because we're able to show that we're working firsthand with an organisation such as the Lloyd's Heritage, and it's very powerful stuff for young people. So for us, it's a great addition to our roadshow programme for this year. So really, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about us and how we teach and how we go about things. And recently, because we're a relatively new organisation in terms of our delivery, and in fact, we've only been delivering one and a half academic years since last January. And we've recently developed what we feel is quite a strong educational philosophy. And we sat back and we thought, well, why are we doing what we're doing? And you know, what are our values, and how are we wanting to teach these young people that we come into contact with? And what we've come up with are 4 C's. And these 4 C's underpin all the work that we do. And it's quite important for us because as a small organisation, we can get pulled in lots of different directions. And it's quite important that we have a solid idea of you know, what we're about and who fits nicely with us in terms of working with partnerships. So our 4 C's are challenge. We believe that the young people that come into contact with us, we like to challenge them in many ways. I mean, particularly down in Portsmouth, it's a very deprived area, and some of the children coming to our base, just getting them there is putting them out of their comfort zone. The building down there is quite something. It's all very modern. It's cutting-edge technology in itself. And getting those children out of their comfort zone, that in itself provides a challenge. Once they're with us, we believe that everything we offer is academically rigorous, and that's quite important for us in getting schools to come and visit us and to join our roadshows and so on, because without academic rigour, then those teachers won't be interested in bringing schools out, because they're very time poor, they've got targets to meet, and we want to ensure that we help teachers meet those targets. Another C that we have is context. We believe we've got a very exciting context in the America's Cup. I don't know if any of you have seen any of it, but last summer we had a 50-foot foiling catamaran that was capable of 50 to 60 miles an hour. And that's really quite something to see, and you know, to explain to young people all the technology and the science that goes, you know, behind getting that boat out on the water, winning races. They find that quite unbelievable. You know, when they come in thinking, oh, it's just 6 guys messing about in a boat, and they leave realising that there's a whole range of STEM careers behind getting this boat on the water. So context is really, really important. And actually coming back to the heritage archive materials that we're going to be using, that adds a real extra layer of really valuable context for us. Creativity. Whoever came up with the concept of a 75-foot monohull without a keel and thought that it would be able to stand upright on the water, for me, that's real creativity. And to be able to solve those real-life STEM problems requires creativity. And everything that we deliver down at the base in Portsmouth requires children to really delve into their own creativity to solve problems. And they do that in a variety of ways, but mostly we teach through doing. So there's a real hands-on interactive element to our activities. And then finally, we feel that once the young people have come into contact with those other 3 C's, challenge, context, and creativity, that they leave us with a sense of confidence that they may or may not have had before they had an experience with us. Whether it's being on the water for the first time, or whether it's being able to solve a problem, whether it's being able to design a sail that came up with the best lift-to-drag ratio in our wind tunnel, all of those things add to that young person's confidence, and we believe that's really key into encouraging young people into STEM careers later on. So those 4 C's are really key to what we do. So you might be thinking, well, how on earth are you going to use these archives? So we've got a good example on the board. This is Shamrock 4, 1929. This is one of Sir Thomas Lipton's yachts. And the way we're going to use this one, so the last week we've been really busy, really preparing all our resources and getting our lesson plans up together. And what we're going to be looking at as one of our activities on the roadshows is we're going to be looking at hull shape. And we've got a number of these plans. We've got Columbia, got Shamrock 5, and we've got Endeavour 2, as well as this one. And we've got all of these wonderful cross-sections of the boats. And we're going to be looking at how hull shapes determine stability of the boat. And it's actually quite interesting when you compare the hull shapes of these and their keels and so on to the ones that are more recent, such as the last campaign, which was the big 50-foot foiling catamarans, and then the campaign that's coming for 2021, which is the keelless 75-foot monohull. And so what we're going to do is we're going to give all the children a deck, a ready-made Perspex deck with a mast. And we're going to teach them all about hull shape and displacement and how different shapes act differently in the water. And then we're going to get the children to then construct their own hull to fit on the deck that we give them. And they're going to make a skeleton using wire. And then with that skeleton, they're going to wrap it, and then we're going to float it in a water tank and add some ballast. And then we're going to hang some weights off the mast. And then whichever boat is able to stay upright for the longest will be the most stable. So that's a little science investigation that they're going to do. And it's just to give you a little taster of what we'll actually do with these, to bring them to life and to make them interactive. We're really lucky in that we've got another educator working with us with some really whizzy screens. So we're able to put these on the screen, and we've got some fantastic software where we can zoom in, write on it, circle it, click on bits, which will take us to a video of the yacht and all sorts. So I think we really be able to bring these to life and make a really special learning experience for the young people, which we come into contact over the next term. So this is where we're going. Over the next few weeks. We're going to be 2 days at each location, and we'll be in contact with 120 people on each day, 120 young people from a variety of schools. Whilst they're with us, they'll be doing 3 or 4 STEM activities plus an on-the-water session. And all of those activities will link back to the heritage materials and also will link to their session on the water. So it's a really nice way of linking everything together, because we feel that it's really important for young people to be able to make those links and to be able to see that actually what you learn in school can be very, very relevant later on. And if you're able to link it to a real life context, you can start to see a pathway into what interests you and where that might take you in the future. And as an organisation, one of our ultimate goals is to inspire more young people into STEM careers later on in life. And we feel that, you know, inspiring them and giving them fun, exciting activities with a really great context is the key to doing that. So we'd be really happy for you to follow us and see our progress over the next few weeks. We'll be tweeting a lot, and they'll be all over our social channels, which I believe are on that slide. So we'd love to have you follow us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have you got any questions? I've got one over here.
Thank you for the presentation. I noticed that you have something in West London. Precisely where is that?
It's a good question. So we have, we've got some funding alongside the support from the foundation, from the Merchant Tailors Livery Company. So we're delivering a session at their school for some of their pupils, but also a number of the local pupils. So we're North West London.
Any other questions here? Yes, Tim?
Thank you very much. I know you've worked really hard with Vicky and the Heritage and Education Centre team to identify relevant materials for you. And for us, I just want to point out that this is really exciting because for the first time, we're putting the Lloyd's Register heritage materials to use in an education context, and we're really excited about the outcomes. Can you say a little bit more about what extra it's offering you guys in terms of your offer, the training and the education opportunities you give to the kids that are coming to the road shows?
I didn't catch it, I'm afraid.
Sorry, you just repeat that last bit.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch you.
I just wondered if you could say a little bit more about, maybe compare this year with last year when you didn't have the heritage materials. What is the additional context that you're getting through the heritage materials you're using this time?
So last year we just had our own activities that we made up from using the current America's Cup yacht, and I think with that for us it's limited in that some of the young people we come into contact with, they have zero experience of sailing, never mind something as elite as the America's Cup. And when we bring them in, we have to do quite a bit of background work on this is the cup, this is what it is, you know, this is the background to it, and so on. And for them, it's so beyond their realms of experience that, you know, just getting past that can be, you know, a whole lesson in itself. So I think to be able to add this layer of history and showing how things have evolved over time, and that this cup that we're talking about and you know, promoting or whatever, it's not just something that's happening now and will be forgotten about. It's something that's been going on for many years. And I think to be able to use those materials alongside the current materials is really, really very powerful, because young people, I firmly believe as an educator, I mean, other people have different views, but my belief is that in order to teach well, you need to teach with context, and you need to teach with timescale, and you need to show how things can evolve over time, and you need to plot a pathway. And I think being able to use these materials to plot that pathway from way back in the 1920s to right up into the present day until 2021, when the next cup, I think that's really powerful as a teaching tool, and it definitely adds an extra element for us, which we certainly didn't have last year. And also, in terms of giving us as educators inspiration to plan really fun lessons, I mean, it's a great hook, because there's so much you can get out of those plans, even if you're just thinking about maths, you know, looking at scale and such like, and materials. You know, we do loads on materials because we've got carbon fibre boats that are filled with Nomex and aluminium honeycomb and so on, which are really cutting edge materials. But to be able to look back and say, well, actually, this boat had a keel made of elm, that's quite interesting, and that provides a whole inspiration in itself just for planning lessons. And then obviously we can then deliver that to young people.
Another question? Yes, Courtney here.
Hi, I'm Vincent Pope. I'm a student at the University of Essex and a bursary holder for Lloyd's Register Foundation. I just wanted to ask what makes you choose the locations you're going to? Obviously, you're a small kind of foundation charity. So why have you chosen those locations? And do you plan on going to East Anglia? Because there's a large area that you're not involved in.
Yeah, I think two drivers really. The first is where the concentrations of teachers using our STEM crew resources are. So we want to be supporting those locations that have got lots of teachers signed up. And secondly is a funding draw. So there are certain regional trusts and foundations that are particularly supportive of STEM activity, and so we've looked to engage with them as well. But ultimately, yes, we'd love to do far more roadshows. We'd love to kind of fill the summer term with roadshows across the country in due course.
I've got a question as well. Oh, it's one over there. Great, better than my question.
Somewhat linked to that, actually. How much does it help to be piloting it in a place with such a strong maritime history in terms of the culture and secondly, are there these types of toolkits? Are they transferable to other other industries where there's also places with strong technical culture too?
Yeah, well, so the trust is co-located with the sailing team in Portsmouth, and part of the reason why we're both in Portsmouth is really to re-engage with the local community. People think maritime and automatically think Southampton, particularly along kind of that Solent south coast. So whilst there is maritime heritage in Portsmouth, for a lot of the children that's been lost. So we're really part of that re-engagement of the local community. So it does help to be in a context. What we see with our materials and the feedback that we've had from teachers is that provided the context is exciting enough to keep the attention of their students, their young people for a lesson or two, and we deliver the genuine academic content alongside that, then actually the context can change. So yeah, we think obviously this sport and this professional sports team are particularly engaging. There will be other contexts. I think the key is to make sure that whatever is exciting for young people, be it the risk, the speed, the water, actually that we replicate that as the hook that keeps the kids engaged.
And I'd just like to add to that, sorry Ben, and I also think what's really important is that whatever is put out there is wholly linked to the national curriculum. Because if you put anything out there that isn't linked, it won't be used because teachers just don't have time. So, you know, if you're using other contexts, other industries, you know, if you're putting things out that don't link directly to the curriculum so that teacher can't tick that box, then to my mind, you're wasting your time.
I think we have one very last question, and I'll leave it to Elaine.
Inspiring. I had the fantastic opportunity one day to sit next door to the CEO of the America's Cup on a plane, and I didn't know who he was, and then we got chatting to know that he is also really passionate about, you know, for example, the way they'd use GPS technology to develop the graphics so that people could understand sailing on the water and that award-winning work. So I just wonder, with all the brilliant stuff you're doing, how is the America's Cup looking at this and thinking about how that may be deployed in maybe the other 6 nations and developed and taken as a global program? Are you connecting that way as well?
Yes, we're hopeful. As you'll know, one of the vagaries of the America's Cup is that the holders of the cup control everything that goes on, and so there's quite a lot of partisanship, really. So yes, as soon as the British team's entry is confirmed, we'll be working with the New Zealanders and the Italians to look at how we really make our material transferable and international.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So I promised you I'd get you home on time, and to fulfil that promise, Richard has promised me that he'll finish 5 minutes early, cut his talk 5 minutes shorter. So I'm going to hand over now to Richard to close the conference. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you, Ruth.